I'm Gene, and this is Perfect Flow. I'm a New Zealand-based athlete and coach focused on optimizing performance, health, and well-being. While I have a professional background in biomedical engineering, I've chosen to follow my more immediate passions for running, endurance, adventure, movement, nutrition, lifestyle, community, psychology, and personal growth. My goal in starting this podcast is to connect with bright minds to extract the information I need to live a life that makes sense and feels good, and share those conversations with others. Apart from your favorite podcast app, the best places to follow my work are perfectflow.nz, genebeveridge.nz, and Perfect Flow on Facebook. Hi, welcome back to Perfect Flow. Today I'm speaking with Dan Jones. Dan lives here in Wellington, where I now live, so it was great to sit down with him in person and have a chat about his training. And those that know Dan Jones know that he's an extremely good marathon runner, as you will hear from what we talk about, but I'm really keen to hear about his training and how he sees the different kinds of sessions that he does and how he sees his training blocks as a whole. And so we get into topics like his typical and favorite kind of training sessions, how he knows when he's doing too much, and the progression, the blocks that he builds together, and what he thinks of the idea of the perfect build towards a race, which of course encompasses tapering as an important part of that. And we talk about the social side of running, and also Dan's coaching that he does with Dougal Allen for a number of endurance clients and multi-sport clients. So I thought this was really interesting to sit down and just talk running and talk endurance. And one tip I have for you as a listener is get used to scaling the paces that we mentioned. So when Daniel mentions that he was running 3 minutes per kilometer, you need to imagine in your head whatever your kind of 95% effort would be. And it probably, maybe it's not 3 minutes per kilometer. It's certainly not 3 minutes per kilometer. It's certainly not a 90% effort for me. It's a bit higher. And just get used to making that conversion between what pace Dan says he's running and convert that into what kind of intensity that would be. So I think Daniel's running his VO2 max stuff at around 3 minutes per kilometer, and he's running his easy stuff at around 4:30 or 4:20. So just get used to that's the range of his extremely hard to extremely easy, and just know what your range is, so that maybe when he says 4 minutes per kilometer, you think for yourself that's a 5 minutes per kilometer, or that's a 5:30. Or maybe for you it's faster than Daniel, but there's not many of us listening that have faster training times than Dan. So yeah, I think that's a good tip. It would be great in the podcast if we had talked about percentages a little bit more, but we didn't. So yeah, I encourage you just to get used to scaling the paces that we talk about into what you're used to feeling and running at your end. So I hope you enjoy this talk I've just recorded with Dan Jones. Dan, thanks for coming on the podcast. What was this morning's session?
Yeah, this morning was a big marathon session. Corey Park, also known as the Field of Dreams to the local marathoning crew or the local running crew. That involved 5 times 1 kilometer hard, 1 kilometer floats.
What's float?
So this morning around 3:45, 3:40 pace.
Okay.
So just a bit, probably like about a steady.
Yep.
I don't know what you call it.
Steady for you.
A bit faster than a aerobic pace.
Yeah.
And then went on to, no rest in between, just after that float was a 10k tempo, all at about 3:15, 3:12 to 3:15 pace, kind of trying to hit around marathon pace, and then on to another 5 times 1k hard, 1k float, so 30k session all up.
So those 1k hards is like more of a VO2 max kind of pace?
Probably around, well, not quite, around probably about half marathon pace, around anything from around 3:06 to 3:11, depending on how tired I was that rep.
Oh, yep. Yep, so you play it by ear a little bit, or is that just inevitably at the end of the day you notice that kind of variation?
Yeah, just looking back at what I was doing, I don't try and, pay too much attention to what I'm hitting when I'm actually within the workout, because I want to, listen to the body a bit as well.
Yeah.
And it was a bit more of a progression. So I guess the first 5 times 1K hard, 1K floats were slightly slower than when I was finishing off the session, because I didn't want to blow myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Do you normally you take it that subjectively, even for the slower sessions? Or is it mainly just the faster sessions where you let it kind of fall where it lands?
Well, I know the general feeling, how I should be feeling in a marathon session. And if I'm, if that lactic, I guess, is building up too quickly, I know that I'm probably going a bit too hard to try and, maintain that effort for 30 kilometers, which I guess is all right if you're doing, say, a 6 times 1K session where the lactic's going to build up anyway. Then you should be hitting maybe a certain pace for that session that day. But yeah, that's exactly right. For the marathon session, you have to get through it. Just like, base mileage is more of a day-to-day. How do I feel when I'm going out for my easy or steady or aerobic runs?
Yeah, you had some massive weeks recently. That's all part of a bigger progression?
Yeah.
Were those big weeks for you, or is that just where the level has risen to?
Yeah, for me, I'd say I respond pretty well to high mileage. So when I'm in the marathon blocks, as I am right now, leading up to Gold Coast, I find that 200k, 210k seems to work for me all right.
Uh-huh.
It's not probably sustainable for anything longer than, say, 10 to 12 weeks. But yeah, from here on, from the last 3 or 4 weeks, along with a bit of racing as well, I've managed to maintain a fairly high volume.
Cool. And when you're saying 200Ks, that's you're not pushing up to that level by reducing the intensity. You're still doing sessions like the one you did this morning. Like, it's still a well-balanced week.
Yeah. I think, if I wasn't doing the sessions, then there'll be no point in me trying to hit that volume.
Okay.
So I do try and do one midweek session and then a Saturday session in the morning. And if we've got a club race, then I'll do maybe a double workout day that day. And then Sunday is usually the longer run. And sometimes, we pick, depending on how the week's gone, if I'm feeling alright, I might make that a bit harder as well to make it more of a marathon session.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. You said it was only sustainable for 10 to 12 weeks. Have you overdone it before? How do you know that's the limit?
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's listening to the body. If I am starting to break down a little bit, then it'll probably be, I'll just back it off a little bit for a week and see how I feel after that. But no, I've been concentrating on the marathon for, I guess, about 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years now. And I've had some pretty good build-ups before leading up to Gold Coast Marathon and Lake Beaver Marathon, and I've noticed, those I can maintain 200k weeks or 190k weeks for a good few weeks, and then stay pretty injury-free.
Yeah.
As long as, once I've had that race, I bring it back down again after that.
What happens first when you do overload it? You mentioned being injury-free, or is it fatigue that sets in first, like your times start to drop, or do you tend to find something breaking?
Yeah, no, there's a hard line to draw, I think, when you're marathon training, because inevitably you're going to get fatigued, and you're kind of surrounded by fatigue when you're doing those long weeks anyway. And with fatigue, I guess you got that higher injury risk. So I think you're going to feel fatigued, and then if a little niggle pops up, that's when I'll tell myself, it's time to bring that volume down a bit, and then still try and get in those good sessions, because that's what I want. I want to be able to be hitting marathon pace and not struggling too much hitting marathon pace within those sessions.
Okay, so you're prioritizing I'm tempted just to not say quality over quantity, but you're tempted to include the higher intensity stuff as a priority. So if you are getting a bit overcooked, you might shave back the steady and the easy runs first.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the reason why I'm actually able to hit quite high mileage, high volume, is because, you know, I'm getting in those double days. Monday, Tuesdays might look, you know, like a 15k morning run, and then an easy running in the afternoon, which might only be 8 to 10 kilometers. And so it's quite easy just to bring one of those runs down, or even just knock one of those double days out completely, and then it just affects your mileage, like that level of that high volume. It affects it quite a bit as soon as you take out 1 or 2 double days.
Yeah, it really starts losing the mileage. And those easier runs are done at steady. Do you have a difference between a steady and an easy intensity? Like, do you really have a focused easy pace?
I try to be, but again, I listen to the body. So if it's a bit like an aerobic run where you're working, but you're not working that hard, so maybe 410s, 420s, say in the morning, then in the afternoon, generally I'll be feeling a bit tired, like, you know, after a day of doing stuff as well. And so that afternoon run might just be a straight recovery, easy run. So 440s, it can even be up to 5-minute pace if I'm feeling really tired. And that's just more so just to get the legs ticking over again. And hopefully they'll recover for that next day.
Yeah, that's a subtle difference, but I have seen value in myself in having an easy, and it's easier than I want to run.
Yeah.
When I do that intensity, like my mechanics feel a bit better actually if I go faster. If I do the steady, my mechanics feel better. But these easy runs, really focusing on slowing down and just trying to get the kilometers with no extra damage done.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And once in a while as well, I might even just finish off with a few strides or some hill sprints, and it kind of just gets, even though you might feel tired, but as soon as you do those, for some reason it can really, like, I don't know, stimulate maybe the, give you that runner's high or something like that, because then you end up feeling that run just really good. It might just be an easy run finished off with a few strides or a few efforts, whether they're flat on the flat or on the hills, but then you can actually really come out of that run feeling, oh yeah, I'm actually ready. And it can actually, doing that before a workout the next day can actually really help, I think, stimulate maybe not just the physiological side of things, but also the psychological side of things as well.
What are you doing for these strides?
Yeah, so strides, I quite like to add them in to just keep the legs moving fast, getting used to running faster than an even 10k pace or half marathon pace or marathon pace. Of the strides, I'll just do finish off with maybe 6, if I'm doing them on the flat, maybe 6 to 8 times about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, and they'll just be like a bit of a gradual build up into intensity, and then just finishing off just before you feel that lactic starting to kick in. So you're really just getting the legs ticking over really nicely. I either do that or do them on the flat, or I'll do some shorter and sharper hill sprints, which is quite good because it takes a bit of the impact off the body. Since you're doing them on the hill, you're not quite getting that same impact as you would on the flat, and you can actually really focus on driving forward, getting that knee to drive through. And it really, I don't know, I find it really just helps with probably the power and actually getting you running a bit faster.
Yeah, I definitely like doing the strides for technique. I think I'm focusing on trying to increase my stride efficiency, and if I do strides every now and again, or very short reps every now and again, then it makes interval pace feel a lot more comfortable, a lot easier. Doesn't make the lungs still burn at 3 minutes, but you can actually move physically at something around 3 minutes per kilometer without the body just kind of screaming from the start. So I think it is nice just to remind your body what it feels like to move so fast. But I tend to do shorter than 30 seconds. I start to burn up a little bit. So maybe that means, just keeping the intensity lower for those strides. Otherwise they turn into reps, which just really burn your legs.
Yeah, and then when I say 30 seconds, I don't start off usually too hard. So the first 10, 15 seconds might be just like, warming into it, I guess you could say, and then just finishing just off with that hard acceleration, not acceleration, but really ramping up into what might be your peak velocity.
Yeah, and with the hill reps, if you do really attack a hill, you can burn in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So you're dialing it down a little bit from that. Like you would probably burn out at like 25 or something, but you're only running to 15 or 20.
Yeah. So for those hill reps, I'm only doing 10 to 15 seconds. Just really cutting back on the length of time and just really making sure they're real quality.
Yeah.
Because I think with those hill ones, as you say, your legs will be burning pretty bad if you try to do 30-second hill reps.
Yeah, so you're not pushing, when you say you're doing strides as part of an easy session, you're not pushing those strides into the red zone.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's more so just really getting comfortable running at a different, I guess, pace zone compared to just, jogging along at what you're quite comfortable at.
Yeah.
And I like to finish a session like that because then you just end up, really getting feeling good about, walking in the door thinking, that was actually a really useful session.
Yeah. Do you do much fartlek stuff that's highly variable and even unstructured?
I would say a little bit in my, long runs. Sometimes I find, I'm pushing the uphills a bit hard and then backing off a bit on the flats or the downs. I don't really do too many straight sessions like that, but everyone's different in the way that they work and what kind of sessions they include into their program, I suppose.
I found that as a good way when I've been less fit to try to do a range of intensity types, and it gives you permission to burn up a little bit on the hills. I think when you're unfit, it's just so easy to overcook yourself, so it's quite hard, especially in Wellington, to do only easy sessions if you're only moderately fit, like I've been in the past. So permission to do fartlek means that you can do a few of the hills a bit harder and sprint a few short ones, and it kind of all makes sense as part of the session, as opposed to saying you're going out to do an easy and then end up doing a 15-minute burner up to Skyline.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's nice to actually take away from the pressure of running a certain distance in a certain amount of time. So it is nice to add into your program when you're, I guess, coming back from injury or coming off maybe an off season or a bit of a down period.
Yeah, but you're not doing much on trails at the moment.
I do some of my easy and my just aerobic runs on the trails for sure. I quite like to vary up the terrain that I'm running on just to give the old legs a bit of a break from pounding the pavement.
Yeah, so what do you feel when you're pounding the pavement that much? I know I struggle with my calves a bit if I do too much on the hard ground. Do you have something that gives you a warning?
Not too much. I mean, as I said, I do try and mix it up a lot. So whenever I get the chance, I guess I'll try and take it off the pavement. And I'm only really doing... it's hard to say, because you can really condition your body to running on the road. Some people don't have that opportunity to run off-road like I guess we have in New Zealand, and being so lucky, around Wellington and different cities in New Zealand, there's also the opportunity to jump on the trail if we want to. I don't know. I mean, the odd injury crops up, but you don't know whether that's from overtraining or, I think the main injuries from running on the pavement would probably be maybe a sore Achilles or some people might say like shin splints or things like that. And, I get the odd, but then you can look at maybe you just got tight calves, or there's other things you can do to help alleviate those small niggles popping up as well with strength training and things like that.
Yeah. It's always kind of multifactorial, and it's hard to say what was the cause if there's multiple things you can change that could have all prevented it. And that's right. With me getting sore calves, it's sore calves for a certain amount of massage work and release work that I've done. And it's just been caught by surprise when you're maybe not as conditioned as you thought you were. So you were never looking to see if your calves were in good shape or not, and just maybe did a bit too much too soon. And then suddenly that you realize that your calves are super tired and your Achilles are suffering because of that. So yeah, it's all in the context.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're working towards Gold Coast. Is that the marathon you've done before?
Yeah, so that's where I had my debut first proper road marathon.
When was that?
Was 2000 and maybe 18 or 17.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And yeah, that's where I did my PB 2 years ago now, because there was no racing last year. I probably would have been back there last year as well if I could have been. But 2 years ago where I did my PB, and haven't really been in a really fast marathon since. I'll be looking to have a good crack at this one coming up.
So that's quite flat.
Yeah, flat and fast. In the past, it's had some really good international athletes with Kenyans and Japanese, Americans coming over. Obviously, really good Australian contingent and New Zealand.
Is it the premier marathon in Oceania?
Yeah, I'd say one of them, because it's a gold label event, so I wouldn't think there's too many of those around the place.
And what time did you do 2 years ago?
2 years ago it was 2:16:15.
Cool. And what was the time before then, and how did it feel to do that time? Was that where you expected to, based on the training you were doing?
Yeah, so my debut was 2 hours 20 minutes and 5 seconds. So that was a nice start off. I would like to have broken that 2 hours 20, but it wasn't to be that day. And then it was a year later where I did, I'd knocked 4 minutes, or just under 4 minutes off. Previous to that, like a couple months before that, I'd raced in Japan at Lake Biwa Marathon, and that was a hell of an experience as well. I mean, just so cool. Racing in Japan, where the atmosphere for marathon running is just next level. And I guess conditions weren't perfect that race, pretty bit wet and cold, but I did 2:18:40 there, so it was quite a good progression between those two races, and only 2 months of proper, maybe 3 months of proper training between those two, and I think that just shows a good consistent build. Firstly leading into Lake Biwa, which might have been a slightly shorter build, but then carrying on that fitness leading into Gold Coast obviously paid dividends somewhere along the line.
Can you predict your race time based on your training times?
I think you can get a bit of an idea up until where you should be. Obviously, marathons are pretty unpredictable beast that can either go really, really well, or it can go much horribly worse.
And the conditions could change that 2 minute difference quite easily. Yeah,
well, last year leading into Gold Coast, they had like kind of tropical storms blowing for like 3 days before, and we're like, oh no, this is not good. Everyone goes to try and. Yeah. That's the thing with marathon running. You've only got maybe a few chances a year to run fast times, and then when you kind of lay it all down the line for one race, you're hoping conditions are in your favour. If they're not, well then you just got to race it, and so be it. But luckily the winds died down, I think, the day before the race, and we actually ended up with a pretty good day.
Yeah, cool. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that progression from year to year, and at what points in that time between those races did you notice your fitness improve? Did you have any other check marks along the way that you used to checkpoint your progress, or were you very much unsure the day before the race whether you'd made any progress at all in the past year?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what I got up to be honest. So leading into Gold Coast, yeah, that's right, for my first marathon, leading into Gold Coast, I kind of went in with the goal at the start of the year, thinking, I want to run a marathon, let's try and do 2 hours 30. And my workouts looked like they're on track to definitely hit 2 hours 30. So I was like, okay, let's make the A goal 2 hours 25. And then, as I was training along, as you were saying before, you can kind of predict what kind of shape you're in based on what kind of splits you're hitting in these longer marathon workouts, because you always can pull something out, on race day as well. And so then I actually put my A goal is 2 hours 20, and I obviously just missed that. But yeah, in between those 2 years, it probably wasn't like perfect build up, but you don't know what a perfect build up is. So I went over to China and raced the multi-sport scene again after my first marathon, which is the stage racing in China, where you're in teams and you're on the, you're doing cross training basically. So not a specific marathon training where you're mountain biking, kayaking, just running around hills, doing these huge endurance events. But then once I did come back from that in, I think it must have been September, then I got cracking back into the marathon, and I did Auckland Marathon, and that went pretty well, having maybe only 3 or 4 weeks of specific marathon training again post that China racing, and I did like 2 hours 24, which, I mean, it's a decent time, I guess, for that course, and I ended up second, which I was pretty happy with the result, especially after that non-specific marathon build straight into what is one of the probably tougher marathon courses, running over the harbour bridge. It's not easy, which maybe that paid into having that strength base from the China racing that could have paid into my favour. Doing that.
What is the perfect build? It's really hard to know. You don't get many shots at testing various things, do you? You've got to choose an approach and go with it.
Exactly. So from then I think I just spent too much more time racing. Jumped into Queenstown Marathon, which was only a few weeks later. Then 2 weeks after that, raced Kepler.
Yeah.
And so just a lot of racing, and who knows, it could have helped with getting mentally strong at racing long events, hard events, and also you're putting your body under quite a bit of strain when you're racing back to back like that.
Yeah, I've also noticed that it's been hard to predict where my form is, and reading books from various famous coaches. Yeah, I think a lot of them have obviously got very good at predicting when their athletes will hit peak form. I've failed every time to predict when peak form comes, and I've had my best races in many situations, like what you were saying, 6 weeks into the training block was peak form, and then I mellowed out for the rest of the training block, and then maybe came back at the end or something like that, or just never came back at the end, and my fastest times were like mid-block. I've really struggled to get it predictable, I think is the thing. Like, I'm always making a long-term improvement, but it's really hard to predict what races within the season you will arrive with top form. Is that similar to what happened to you on that season? Or did you just keep improving the whole way through the block way faster than what you thought?
Yeah, I mean, some of those races you can't really, they're just so much different in terms of the course, so it's hard to actually judge how fast you really are at that point in time. Yeah. But I know completely what you mean. Like, I've had some big build-ups, and then you might race, or you might get injured a few weeks before your race, and you're not able to train for those last few weeks, and then you might be just doing the odd run here and there, thinking, I'm losing all my fitness. But really, if you're mentally still there doing what you can do, just maybe keeping the body moving a little bit, you can go into that race and still have the race of your life, maybe, because you don't lose that much. Yeah. You're probably not going to lose that much.
Yeah, and just maybe the thing that you needed was to freshen up a bit.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a big believer in a good taper. Yeah. 3 weeks out, or at least 2 weeks out, you're really coming down off that mileage, and you're looking at freshening the body up, especially for your A races, or those races that you really want to go into and be fresh and put down a real solid performance.
Yeah, you tend to do a 3 week taper.
Well, starting out to drop the mileage off 3 weeks out, still keeping in those intensity sessions up until probably 1.5 weeks out, but definitely not maybe the same long marathon workouts that I talked about earlier. They might be just like looking at, sharpening up, just getting that speed there a bit more as well.
Yeah. Have you had trouble with tapering? Was it confusing your body a little bit?
Oh yeah, I think most people probably have if they've been in the game for a while. It's the body goes in taper and wonders what the hell it's doing. I know. Actually, yeah, went into my just before I had that PB over in Gold Coast. I think I was into my last solid workout, which I think I was going to do like a 4K, or it was like a 3K, 1K, 1K times 2 or something like that. And yeah, I got halfway through the first set and I was like, no, like the body just said no. I wasn't hitting any kind of pace. I think I'm only 20 or 30 seconds slower than what I was supposed to be hitting or what I wanted to be hitting. And so I was like, no, I'll just leave that. That session's done. The body's telling me I need to freshen up more. And, you know, and that sometimes happens in taper. Your body just does some weird things. You might pick up a little niggle here and there, but it's more so, I think, your body just thinking, whoa, I needed this taper. Yeah. It's about time to really freshen up now and get ready for race day.
Yeah, well, that's reassuring to hear that you also have problems or challenges with the taper, because it's, forever just spinning a roulette wheel for me. I've been tempted just to never taper, just because at least I might be a bit tired, but I won't be like totally flat. All these weird kind of overtraining symptoms that come on when you take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
So for me, kind of not tapering works better than a short taper. Like 2 weeks seems like a really risky taper, or like a 4 week taper seems safer because I get through all of the strange reaction to doing less training before those weeks. Obviously you do less training overall if you're essentially shaving the peak week back 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I think
there's a few things to play with there.
It is, and I think, you know, once you actually work it out what works best for you, because I've heard that as well. Like some people might do 5 weeks out, have like a real down week or real deload week, and then 4 weeks out, you know, maybe ramp it up for that 4th week again, but then 3 weeks out, then start coming back. So it's like a W-shaped taper.
Yeah, that's my jam now, actually. Yeah, and sometimes I do the first taper and I come rearing to go, and so then I'm like, oh, we can do a harder week. Yeah, it's like trying to guide a missile into the to the destination, right? And you want to check that you're on target before it's too late to readjust. And yeah, I found that useful. But yeah, there's not a one size fits all for sure, and that's one of the things that gets talked about. I think there seems to be a lot of consistency with people believing that like a 2 week taper is the way to go, whereas I think in practice it's something that's very varied.
Agree with that.
Yeah. What kind of sessions are you doing throughout the rest of your week? You mentioned that there were some slower ones, and you mentioned like that session you did this morning. What other kinds of stuff are you doing?
Yeah, so tomorrow, like, you know, just looking at the rest of the week, I guess it'll be Thursday, will probably be a double day. Friday I'll have an easier day. Yeah. Leading into the weekend, because the weekend's usually pretty big for me. And yeah, so Friday might just be 45 minutes to an hour of running, just easy again. Whatever the body feels like doing, 4 minutes 20 to 4 minutes 45, 5-minute pace. However I feel. And then the weekend, just because actually it's cross country season, I love doing a bit of club racing as well. These last couple of weeks I've been doing a session in the morning, which might look like maybe some 1K efforts and like a 10K tempo, usually including that 10K tempo in there, and then they'll be in the morning, and then the afternoon session might be just a fun cross country race, which I still take pretty seriously, and I love to represent the Wellington Scottish crew. So another good warm up, get that race done, cool down. You know, it's looking like a 35-40 kilometer day anyway. So it's another just big day on the legs. And then Sunday, if I'm doing that kind of day on Saturday, then realistically Sunday is just a long run. It won't be a hard long run probably, but anywhere from maybe 4 minutes to 4:10 average pace, so right in the middle there, I guess.
Are you doing those long runs with other people?
Yep. Try to do it with the marathon running crew here.
Yeah,
Because I was thinking about if you are centering your life around doing this kind of training, then like why is Saturday and Sunday the big days? It could easily be Wednesday, but I think there's a social aspect there as well. Do you enjoy doing those longer sessions socially?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess if I wasn't doing the Saturday races either, I'd probably do that workout on Friday and maybe do a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday type setup. But I do enjoy the cross-country racing, and I like to represent the club in there. That social aspect of getting out and making the Ks tick by quicker, having some yarns with club mates and stuff like that is very helpful, and I definitely encourage others to get into that side of social thing, part of running.
Is it just the Wellington Scottish training crew, or is there some other groups? I haven't been very social here in Wellington yet, so I'm not even sure who's doing what training. Who are you training with?
Well, it's just because I'm a member of that club, but anyone's welcome. We don't. Anyone can show up and be like, we'll run with this crew, or even this afternoon we've got I'll be taking a session for the Windy City multi-sport crew out in front of Freyberg Pool, so we'll do another session. I'll probably be taking it pretty easy this afternoon, probably just giving them some easy running, maybe join the C group or something like that, but no, it is kind of cool seeing Wellington is quite an active city, so there's a lot of people out running, there's different groups, there's a lot of people you can be running with.
Yeah, that's good. Is there an easy way to get involved with some of those running groups? I guess you've kind of been in the scene for a long time. How do people find those groups?
Yeah, I suppose so. So every at Round the Bays, there's always tent set up because that's right at the start of the season. Wellington Round the Bays, so you can join up to the clubs there, or clubs are always trying to recruit new members anyway. But otherwise, I'd say just look at just get in touch with someone that will be in the know. Surely you see some people around, just approach them because they want their clubs to grow. If you see a runner with a yellow singlet with a lion on the front, that's Wellington Scottish. Approach those guys. There's WAC, there's Olympic, there's Vic Uni, there's heaps of clubs around Wellington. So I just definitely encourage people to join clubs because they can help set up a fairly structured week for you. And there's also some different options, like I know our club does even some coaching options, so it's pretty handy.
Yeah, it's so easy to get out and do sessions when you know that it already exists. And there's going to be people there to hang out with. It's just no emotional effort to get out of the house.
And you can get so much motivation from running with other people. That's how you can make the easy gains, is getting pushed along with others.
Yeah. Are you doing some coaching at the moment?
I do coaching, endurance coaching, either running or multi-sport. And as I said, that little run club that we're doing this afternoon. So it's good. It's a good way for me to also get a bit of motivation from others as well.
Mm-hmm. When did you start coaching? Is it just something you kind of merged into since you've been competitive for so long?
Well, I was working at PwC, so quite an office job, and that was probably a bit more than 40 hours per week, I'd say. And when I had a pretty decent time over in Gold Coast, I thought, I want to give this running thing a good crack. My goal is still to represent New Zealand in some shape or form in marathon running. So I thought I'd try. I'd hand in my notice at PwC, and then that's when I went down that coaching route to do something that I'm quite passionate about. Helping others, get reach their own goals, but also to give myself a bit more flexibility and time to set up a week of hard training and recovery.
So how many hours of coaching work do you reckon you're doing a week now?
It comes and goes a bit with big events, and I guess the winter season is a bit bit easier, or I shouldn't say easier, but like there's a bit more time for me.
Yeah.
And then around that summer season when you've got things like the big ultras like Tarawera and Coast to Coast and Kepler, all those races coming up, it gets a lot busier with more people coming on board for coaching. But when it's busy, it's probably around 20 hours per week.
Yeah.
And at the moment it's maybe 5 to 10.
Yeah, I'm finding somewhere around that gives me enough time to do all the exercise I'm wanting to do and all the sleep and eating and stuff I want to do as well. Somewhere around 20 hours of non-training related time per week seems to be about the right number. It's definitely hard to sustain it on 40 hours of work per week. I was definitely sacrificing sleep. And I imagine you would have been, well, I'm not sure how hard you were training prior while you were at PwC, but was there one thing that you knew you were sacrificing?
Yeah, well, I think as you touched on, sleep is so important for recovery. I think it's been proven to be the most important recovery tool. So there's that, and there's also just that supplementary stuff like strength training. So some days you might want to do your run, but then you also might want to do some gym work, or as you said before, like the stretching, the yoga, and those are kind of the things that I never really thought too important to supplement my training in the past. But now it's just like, I've been injury free for quite a while, and some things pop up once in a while, and it's probably just laziness on my part, like neglect the stretching, I've even did a bit of yoga over the summer, and just keeping on top of that stretching and stuff now seems to be so important to really keep the mobility in the hips, and especially when you're running such big mileage in a linear, your body's going one way all the time. You kind of need to move outside those planes to make sure that things don't break down or get just too constricted there.
And that probably takes sitting down for half an hour on the floor every second day, and that's the first thing to go when you're working too much.
And that's right, because you come from your run, you have a quick shower and you're sitting in your chair back to work. It's not like, give yourself a bit of time to have a protein drink or and then sit down and give yourself some time to maybe even reflect on the run. How did that go? What do I got to do next time? You can, while you're doing that, you're sitting on the floor stretching out, doing some strength work.
That's really cool. It's really cool. What else with the coaching? Are you focusing just on running coaching? Because I know you have a lot of experience with the multi-sport and some longer endurance stuff. Are you supporting many people that are doing that kind of stuff, like coast to coast even?
Yeah, so coast to coast is a major event, and with the coast to coast growing as well, that has been the main event that I think people want a bit of instruction and accountability for, because it's a big day out there, and if you go into that underdone and not really have an idea of how to approach it, then that's not going to probably go too well for you, unless you get lucky or the conditions are just perfect where the wind blows you across the pass and you can float down the river at a nice high river level, which at the moment I suppose it's going to be a bit, you're probably doing some record times even if you hadn't been in a boat. But it's multi-sport has been part of my life, I guess, for my whole life, with my dad racing and doing coast to coast and adventure racing. So it's something that was quite an easy step to jump into with first myself when I got into multi-sport and the China stage racing, but then also into coaching, because I've been passionate about it and been around it for ages.
Do you find that you've got knowledge about some of the more technical aspects of multi-sport that has accrued over the years? Like a few things about paddling and mountain biking that you were never really coached in, but you've just got the experience that someone who just studied endurance running just wouldn't know the nuances there.
Well, I think endurance running, it's not so well, apart from the form and what we've talked over about the certain things that can actually probably help your form with the hill sprints and things like that. Running is running a little bit in that sense. Is like the technique that you've ingrained into your habits. It's probably going to stay there. unless you really focus at changing it, and the only reason you do that is because it's really giving you injuries.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I've come unstuck trying to fix things that
Yeah.
were interesting but not problems.
Yeah.
And it just ends in injury.
Yeah,
every time.
exactly. Especially if you try and change it too quick, I guess, and maybe not supplementing with that strength training. And so, yeah, with the kayaking side of things and the mountain biking or cycling, yeah, there's definitely some technical aspects that, you know, you learn for experience, but also, yeah, doing making a conscious effort to try and to learn techniques and be surrounded by people that are doing the right things, I suppose.
Yeah, and you can impart that knowledge quite easily more easily for the biking and paddling stuff. Do you find?
Yeah, well, there's definitely faster kayakers out there than me.
Yeah.
There's definitely faster mountain bikers or cyclists out there than me. But, you know, for experience, you definitely gain some of those skills. And I'm coaching pretty remotely. So, you know, using the platform Training Peaks and setting programs, and we can use a bit of video analysis and things like that. But it's there's actually, if you want to really improve yourself, then it's actually getting someone there right beside you, right, and fixing the very small technique changes and what they're seeing. So yeah, you really need someone to actually be sitting next to you in a kayak or you know, right there on the bike showing you exactly where you're going wrong.
It's a good argument to get stuck in with a club or a community and learn from people who have more experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. With that multi-sport kind of training, I'm wondering if you're spending more time setting the mileage or less time letting newer athletes kind of explore that space a bit more. Whereas if you're coming in with a running program, I can imagine it's a bit more predictable. Maybe you can be more prescriptive with what they're doing. Yeah,
well, people that haven't done, I guess, a sport in the past as well, they want those guidelines kind of set in place. Right. But that's why I think that communication is pretty key in the sense that they've probably got a certain amount of time to work with around the daily lives. A lot of these people, they want to complete the coast to coast, so they're not there to maybe set records.
Yeah.
So it's actually setting up a time frame that's going to work best for them and get them to a level that's actually going to help them achieve their goals around their family life and work life and getting that balance right for them.
Mm-hmm. Do you still find you can be quite prescriptive?
Yeah, I do. And again, that comes down to you might not get it right the first week or two, but it comes down to that communication through the athlete and the coach to what is working and making sure those. Well, we're hoping those sessions turn green in Training Peaks. So yeah, probably not over prescribing or not under prescribing. It's obviously it takes the right amount of communication to get that right.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience as a coach. Also, I started trying to be. There's always that element of being prescriptive because it's actually helpful for someone who doesn't know exactly what to do and they're looking for guidance, but trying to be accurate from day one and trying to get the whole program as accurate as possible from day one. And I could do that to myself to some degree, and doing it to others is even harder because there's so many things that are unpredictable. And in the end, I'm just happy if I can get the first 4 weeks kind of accurate. And then something's going to come away. They're going to get sick for a week, a job comes up, and I just found no point in trying to be accurate from day one. And introducing feedback was really the only way to have a successful training program that's longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what, athletes or anyone needs a bit of flexibility in their training. So I just say to them, if something comes up, we're going to work with you to change it next week around. If you get sick, then you're probably not going to be coming out of fitness. You're not going to be wanting to do a 6 to 8 times 1K session at 95%, you know what I mean? So it is working with the athlete to actually be flexible. If something comes up, that needs to be communicated, and we're going to change that around so you're not blowing yourself to bits when you're not 100% healthy.
Yeah, you're working with Dougal Allen for a little bit. Is that still the gig, or have you got your own thing now?
Yeah, for sure. I'm still subcontracting from with Dougal.
Is it just the two of you in the team?
Yeah, and Amy as well.
Oh, cool.
So Amy's Dougal and I are doing the coaching, and Amy's keeping the whole ship running, I suppose.
Keeping the wheels on.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's been awesome. Especially because Dougal's obviously still racing, still coming out, winning coast to coast and things like that. So it's been pretty special to be part of that, and just seeing that business come along as well.
Yeah, I imagine you're learning a bit from him as well.
Exactly. So when I stepped into that role, when I left PwC, it was Dougal that got in touch with me and said, hey, we can work together here. You can jump on board. I can provide you clients, act as a mentor, teach you some things, and it's worked really, really well. So I get, some athletes coming through DA Endurance. I get some through my own means, and it's a pretty awesome setup.
Yeah, I imagine that a coach like him, if they become successful, gets overloaded at some stage.
Yep.
And so, you've got to, it's a win-win for both people. Otherwise he's swamped, and now you can develop and help him be less swamped.
And it's great like that, because obviously we have our own strengths as well. So me with the endurance running, the multi-sport side of things, obviously he knows a lot about the multi-sport side of things as well, but he's also got that Ironman background. So we can take on quite a range of different athletes that are keen to knock off their next challenge.
Cool. Thanks for your time. I think I've learned a lot as well, and I hope the listeners have also learned a little bit. Where can they find you if they're interested in coaching?
Yeah, so cheers, Gene, first of all. It's been awesome talking to you as well, and hopefully a few people will be listening to this. So I guess they can reach out. I'm mainly, active on Instagram. Daniel.c.jones is my handle. Like I said, I'll just leave it with that one.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
If you're enjoying the Perfect Flow podcast and want more value from it in the future, there are some ways you can support it. The first is to rate or leave a positive review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or other platforms where it's available. The second is to share this podcast or specific episodes on social media or with friends. The third is to get involved more directly through the Perfect Flow page on Facebook, where I'm trying to construct a more interactive community. I want Perfect Flow to belong to the listeners, and if you tell me what topics you're most interested in, or even suggest specific guests, I'll do my best to make it happen. This is your opportunity to be part of something that answers your questions and adds value to your life. Another good reason to follow Perfect Flow on Facebook is that I post links to episodes, blog posts, and anything I find useful to this page. It's a great way to follow my training, racing, and learning. Another great way to stay engaged is to subscribe to genebeveridge.nz. This way you will get podcasts and blogs emailed to you, avoiding the clutter of Facebook. I don't know where this project will take us, but the reception so far has been positive. Who knows where we might be in a few years.